Hi, if this is your first time on my channel, I'm Amanda Murbu, and it's truly a pleasure to have you here with me today as we talk about the kind of woman a man never forgets. And, as you can probably guess, tied closely to that idea of never forgetting comes regret. The first thing I want to say is that, generally speaking, men usually take longer than we do to understand what's happened, to understand whether they regret it or not. Why? Because their emotional mechanisms, speaking in general terms, of course there are exceptions, work differently. It's not the same to lose someone you love as it is to believe someone isn't right for you, or to undervalue them, or to slip up and lose them because of it. That's because male and female mechanisms for dealing with emotions tend to differ. We're much more used to sitting down, working through things, wanting to understand, wanting to process. If this is a wound, we dig into it because we want to clean it thoroughly. And if the antiseptic has to go on and it stings, it stings. And if rest is needed, we rest. Men tend to be more avoidant. Sometimes that even works out for them. There are times the man goes numb to avoid facing what he feels, and he doesn't fully experience the loss of that person in the moment. It usually builds up inside him instead, and later, when it finally catches up with him, he often suffers a great deal because it's all been accumulating. We tend to be more like, this happened, why did it happen? I want to understand it, I live it, I cry it out, I process it. A man is more likely to brush it off, to shift his attention elsewhere until he simply can't avoid it anymore. Okay, now when we talk about the type of woman that a man doesn't forget and deeply regrets losing, and this might surprise you, it's a combination that's practically impossible to find these days, and it has nothing to do with looks, status, intelligence, or how devoted someone is. It has everything to do with how she carries herself. Because what's common today is either people who are so afraid of being vulnerable that they simply aren't, or when they do try to be vulnerable, they do it through little tricks, hiding what they feel, pretending not to care, going back and forth. In other words, there's a lack of transparency. But not because they want to be closed off, it's because there's already earlier damage that taught them being transparent, being vulnerable, comes at a high price. There's a mistrust that leads them to go in already armed, so that at the smallest thing, they either strike first, retreat, or simply don't fully commit. Or, on the other end, you find people whose self-worth has been worn down by all that damage, leading to a lack of self-love that makes them latch onto very little, willing to put up with poor treatment, believing that by giving so much love, being patient, being understanding, not asking for anything, not complaining, even when it doesn't add up, they'll eventually earn a place in that person's heart. So really, these are two sides of the same fear. One is the fear of being alone, wanting to find someone and being willing to put up with anything. The other is the fear of getting hurt. So you stop acting naturally, you hold back, you play games, and the smallest thing sets off alarm bells. And then there's the kind of woman who's genuinely hard to find today, the one I try to help both men and women become. On my channel, what I emphasize most is self-worth, self-control, understanding that I can't approach love out of fear of giving myself fully. I have to allow myself to be vulnerable, but that doesn't mean I let anyone treat me however they want. When you carry that mindset, what kind of person are you? In this case, what kind of woman are you? You're a woman who allows herself to be vulnerable, which means you let the other person know that yes, this affects you. Yes, you feel things. You let them see that you admire them. Because when I allow myself to be vulnerable and open up emotionally, I'm showing you that I see qualities in you, that I see potential, and I'm not afraid to say it. I love you, sweetheart. If I feel like telling you that you're wonderful, I say it. If I want to suggest we do something together, I do it. If I have an affectionate gesture to offer, I offer it. If something doesn't sit right with me, because I expected more, because something hurts, I tell you that too. I'm myself, transparent, expressive, devoted, affectionate. I want you to feel good because, of course, I want that. I see potential in you and in this because I'd love for us to build something together. But what happens if you take that sincere devotion and misuse it, if you act badly? That's where I don't just swallow it. I don't pretend not to notice. I take a stand. And what does that communicate in the end? Look, yes, I'm open, I'm emotionally healthy, and I'm willing to love. But I also love myself deeply. I don't lose myself for you. I don't put you above me. I don't prioritize you over myself. So even while I have feelings for you, if I need to stand my ground and walk away, I will. And here's a key distinction, an important one. This is exactly why I wanted to make this video. Often when something ends, the way we try to convince ourselves we'll process it better and come to terms with it is by tearing the other person down. Not necessarily to others, even just to ourselves. Like, I was getting to know this man, this guy who seemed amazing, gorgeous, the man of my dreams. Then suddenly, he shows he doesn't feel the same, or doesn't want to continue getting to know me. And that's the worst part. Because then I start thinking, well, actually, he's got this flaw, and I find 100,000 things wrong with him. I try to diminish him. When you truly love yourself, you don't need to tear the other person down in order to process what happened. And honestly, that's more of a masculine mechanism than a feminine one. It's avoidant. It's like, no, I don't need to suffer over this. It wasn't worth it. No, it's much better to accept and understand. Careful here. This person really was worth my attention. They had things I liked. That's why they had my attention. Why I got involved with them. Maybe that's why I was intimate with them. Why I wanted them as a partner. Or why they became my partner. Because they have genuinely good qualities. Now, that said, I also have plenty of good qualities, which means that even though you might have 100,000 good qualities, the way you treat me is the first requirement that has to be met. Above everything else, above however many wonderful traits you have to choose me. You have to value me. You have to treat me well. If that fails, none of your other qualities matter. They don't matter for the sake of me continuing to invest in you. That doesn't mean those qualities disappear. It means that, despite all those qualities, if you don't value me, I won't stay. But I won't tear you down for it. I won't diminish you. I won't start criticizing you to other people. I won't tell myself some story about how you were actually a jerk, that you weren't even that great, that deep down you weren't even that attractive. And I won't go looking for flaws or faults. No. And I won't pretend it doesn't hurt either, because it might hurt. I might have genuinely wished this had worked out, because I did see something good in you. So I don't start thinking of you in a very negative, toxic way. I don't try to convince myself, in order to move forward, that you're worthless. No. To move forward, I simply remind myself that I'm worth too much to keep giving my time, my affection, and my attention to someone who doesn't value it. Period. I don't need to dig into who you are, what's wrong with you, or convince myself that whoever you go on to date next is doomed. No, no, no. It hurts me to have seen the good in you. I don't wish you any harm. I understand you have good qualities, but of course I also remember that I deserve to be treated a certain way. And if that treatment doesn't come from you, if things were going well, but suddenly you start being inconsistent, or you act like you don't know what you want, trying to convince me that you don't know what you want, as if people genuinely don't know what they want or don't want, or you treat me in a way that leaves me feeling unvalued and unloved, then it's not about who you are or how much you're worth. It's about me knowing my own worth. And so, with all that love and care, in a mature way, I walk away. But I don't make a scene, I don't accuse you of anything. I understand, and I'm even willing to accept that in love, there's free will. that sometimes we can feel drawn to someone and then it just doesn't work out. If that's what happened to you, that's okay. Maybe we're just not right for each other. Maybe you're not the person for me. And clearly, if you don't see the potential in me, then you're not the one. There's no argument to be had there. It doesn't matter if we seem like soulmates but you don't realize it, or if you're in love but somehow it's still a no. If you're not thrilled and endlessly grateful and happy that I'm choosing you and want everything with you, then you're simply not the person for me. So you need that mental clarity to accept things as they are. Wow, I met you. I thought maybe you could be the one. We got to know each other. Turns out, you're not. Whatever the reason, I don't care. And I'm not going to dwell on whether it's because you're carrying baggage from your past, whether you're someone who repeats toxic patterns, or simply that with me, you didn't feel what you needed to feel. I'm not going to get caught up wondering whether this happened unintentionally or whether you deliberately led me on. No, 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 no. I'm not going to wade into that murky swamp of questioning what I did wrong or whether I'm not good enough for you. No, because I know I'm good enough for whoever is willing to love me as I am, because I love myself. And that's what real love comes down to. Think about it this way. When you love someone, if a stranger comes along and starts speaking badly about them, criticizing your mother, your best friend, your brother, are you going to doubt them? Are you going to believe that outsider? No, because you love that person and you love them fully, without hesitation. So you just think, no, what you're telling me? No. And that person is out. The same applies to you. You love yourself. You love yourself well. You know you're worthy of love. You meet someone you perceive as worthy of love, you open up, you give the good things you have to offer. And at some point, that person either can't or won't reciprocate. And that's that. I don't sit there questioning what I did wrong, thinking I'm not enough. I understand that, well, then we're just not meant to be. Without turning you into a villain in my mind, without needing to do that. No, no, no. When you love yourself enough, you go in with the mindset, I'll make you feel good, I'll be upfront, I'll be vulnerable, I'll give you sincere affection. I won't dump all my emotional baggage on you and make you clean it up. I'll come to you with a clean spirit, openly. But if you don't act accordingly, I'm not going to stick around and put up with nonsense. Not a chance. I won't fall for empty talk. I won't accept you telling me one thing with your words while your actions say something else. I won't play the waiting game, being patient while you get ready. I'm not an audition. You don't need to be ready to be with me. I'm not something you keep on hold. I'm not a jailer waiting for you to be released. If you value your freedom that much, then you're free to keep it to yourself. So when you're able to love with your whole heart, to refuse to accept what you shouldn't accept because you love yourself first, but without holding a grudge, without needing to speak badly of the other person or do something to hurt them, or tell them how terrible they are, or even carry that kind of resentful energy inside yourself. No, no, no. None of that. I chose you because I thought you were wonderful, because I believed certain things about you, and I still see those good qualities. What happens is that what you're giving me simply isn't enough for what I need from someone in that important position in my life. When you carry that mindset, it doesn't matter how long it takes. And, as I said, men tend to move slower on this. Maybe you walk away from a man's life because he messed up, because he acted badly, because he became inconsistent, because he wanted to test how much you'd tolerate, whether you'd swallow 5 spoonfuls or 15, whether you'd put up with it, whether he could get away with it. Maybe at first he sold you a beautiful picture, but then he wanted to keep you on standby while keeping all his options open, going out, coming in, seeing other women, while keeping you around with promises that eventually you'd make it official. And somehow it just never happens with you. But you walk away with elegance, with calm, with peace within yourself. If you need to cry it out or process it, you do. but without needing to tear the other person down, because you're standing so high that you don't need to bring anyone else down to feel good about yourself. And often, it's not right away, maybe not in the first week, but eventually they're left with a strange, lingering feeling. Understanding that you were upfront, that you didn't play games, that you were transparent. Because often, when you're that transparent and that vulnerable, people mistake you for the type who gives too much because she wants to be chosen, the type who ends up tolerating all kinds of nonsense. So they underestimate you. Because the woman who shows up guarded, playing games, keeping her walls up, they think, oh, she might leave. But when you show up mature and upfront, they assume you'll put up with everything. So they're caught off guard when it turns out you won't tolerate it all. And when you walk away without drama, without arguing, without fighting for them, without trying to justify yourself or demanding explanations, and they notice that you remain consistent, because energy, as I always say, is something people can feel. When your energy stays clean, when you don't fill yourself with bitterness and resentment over it, eventually that leaves a strange feeling inside them, and one day it hits them. Wow, I lost an incredible woman. I lost an amazing person. I lost a great opportunity. And it doesn't matter if they're seeing other people in the meantime. It doesn't matter if, at first, it doesn't seem to affect them. It catches up with them, believe me, it catches up with them. And meanwhile, you're left with a clean, strong sense of self-worth. Why? Because it's a healthy way of handling things, and because it shows you, in the clearest way possible, that your value is never in question. And I'll tell you, even men who will never actually admit it to you. In my coaching sessions with men, I've had them tell me, Amanda, when I think about her, I know I messed up. Maybe she's with someone else now, and I see that she's doing well, and it doesn't surprise me because I know she's a woman who deserves it. I just didn't know how to see it. I had the chance, and I regret not taking it. That's just how it is. So now you know, if you want to be the kind of woman a man never forgets, you already know what emotional management looks like, because that's what really matters here. In the end, emotions go far beyond looks, first impressions, or chemistry, far beyond all of that. If you enjoyed this and haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do so. Hit the bell so you don't miss anything, because I'd love to see you again very soon. Until then, as always, I'm sending you a big hug.